In the Matrix movie, one couldn't actually escape the Matrix by his or her own doing, but instead had to wait for and answer a telephone call from the higher dimension of the true reality in order to escape. Have you started to become aware of the workings of the matrix in your life and desire to escape? Maybe that's from a 9 to 5, maybe it's from the matrix of the mind. Either way, this idea or this allegory from the Matrix movie actually holds the key to understanding how you can break free. Stick around and I'll explain further. Hi, my name is Jose De Castro, and I'm a psycho-spiritual life coach that helps conscious entrepreneurs to break free from unconscious barriers to change and success, while at the same time facilitating spiritual growth and evolution in the process. So let's get right into it. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, you know that it was an illusory, immersive, virtual reality experience that was used by the machines to trap humans' consciousness in illusion so that it could continue to use them as a source of energy. So if you recall, when someone whose consciousness was in the Matrix desired to exit the Matrix, they couldn't just do it on their own. They actually had to wait for a telephone call that came through from a telephone booth, but it originates not in the Matrix, but in the real world. In the world of real human beings that have been unplugged from the Matrix. So it is a higher dimension, as it were, that is the place from which that call is placed in order for the person that is in the Matrix to actually exit the Matrix. So in other words, the escape from illusion had to be initiated from a higher, more transcendent reality and not from within the reality itself. The reason why I'm actually using this idea from the Matrix is that it makes an excellent allegory to explain our experience of reality on more than one level of our existence. So on the first, most basic level, the Matrix can be seen as those systems that are set up in society to rob us of our time and our life force by getting us to slave away at a 9 to 5 on a daily basis, that system of taxation, of government, and so forth. When most people think of the Matrix, they think of the Matrix on this most basic level, the level of society and the structures within society that keep us trapped. However, it's very important to note that before you can break free from the Matrix on this level, you first have to understand and break free from the deeper, more subtle level of the Matrix. This second, more subtle level of the Matrix is the matrix of the mind. On this level, the illusion of the Matrix can be compared to that aspect of our psyche known as the ego. The ego is that thought activity that weaves all of these identifications and stories that end up enthralling us and keeping us trapped in illusion. And just like the versions of the people in the Matrix were not really who they were, it was just a rendering in a software program, the ego poses as us, but we are not our ego. We are not our thoughts. We are the consciousness that is experiencing the ego or experiencing the thought activity. So now let's turn to this allegory of the telephone booth so we can really understand how we can exit the Matrix on the most basic level by first understanding and exiting the Matrix of the mind. The key is the telephone call. You see, the ability to exit the Matrix had to be initiated from the level of the higher reality and not from within the reality itself. Like Albert Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So you can't free yourself from the illusion of the ego with more thought activity. That process has to be initiated from the higher self. It's very instructive here to understand the agendas of both the ego and the higher self if we're really to understand what's going on here. You see, the ego is given to us in order to keep us in survival, and the way that it does that is by convincing us through thought activity and through social conditioning that we need to stay in our comfort zone. The higher self, on the other hand, is the true self. It is who you really are. Pure consciousness, pure awareness, and its agenda is spiritual growth and evolution. It is not interested in keeping you in your comfort zone. The fact of the matter is that spiritual growth and evolution is actually quite stretching and challenging, but the higher self calls you into it because that is why you have incarnated in human form in the first place. The higher self is also the origin of the will to break free from your restricting walls, to break free from the ego mind trap, to break free from the 9 to 5. And so if you have a strong desire to do so, that is not originating from your ego. That originates in your higher self. Okay, so how do we apply this truth of the telephone booth to our lives if we desire to break free from our 9 to 5? Application number 1. Understand that the desire for growth originates within the higher self. It is the telephone call. So if the higher self, which is the God aspect within you, the true self, is calling you out of your comfort zone and onto a path of conscious entrepreneurship, or calling you out of the matrix of the ego and the mind and all of the entanglements thereof, then would you not answer the call? Think about whether you would answer the call if you knew that God was calling. And so understand that it's not going to necessarily be easy to answer that call because of all that that entails in order to live out the full embodiment of what that means. But if you know that that desire originates within the aspect of you that is connected to God and the divine, ask yourself the question, is it worth answering that call, or should I just let it ring and stay where I am in the matrix? Application number 2. Answering the call takes a great deal of trust. Think about within the Matrix movie when the characters were running around trying to escape from agents and they heard the call coming from a telephone booth. If they had no trust in the process, then instead of going into a telephone booth with a truck careening towards them and picking up a receiver, they would probably just opt for running around within the Matrix. We just simply have to trust that if the higher self initiates the call to exit, then it also has the ability to guide us through the process. Application number 3 is if you refuse to answer the call, it's like running around perpetually in the matrix and looking for an exit where none is going to present itself. The more you try to stop and think about it or use logic to keep yourself in your comfort zone, it's basically giving into the voice of the ego. It's opting to stay put within the matrix and not actually taking the only course of action that is going to help you to escape, which is taking that leap of faith. And application number 4 is that once you've answered the call, you want to stay on the phone as much as possible. And what does that mean? It just means that if we want to be successful, then we need to keep that line of communication between us and the higher self as open as we can. Understand that spiritual concepts and knowledge can only take us as far as the telephone booth, but actually picking up the receiver and staying on the call is the idea of relinquishing thought and actually giving yourself over to presence. We can do this by meditation and mindfulness, whereby we're able to silence the turbulent mind and tap into that still silent voice of intuition and inner knowing. So there you have it. If you want to break free from the 9 to 5 matrix, you first have to break free from the matrix of the mind. If you have a strong desire to break free from your 9 to 5 in order to pursue conscious entrepreneurship, it means that the phone is ringing. The question is, are you going to keep running around in the comfort zone of the matrix, or are you going to pick up that receiver and answer the call? Free your mind. If this video resonates, then here's another video you might like. Here's a playlist, and subscribe for more content.